Hello there, TikTokers. As you know, I am a DJ on Gold Standard Radio every Saturday, 7 till 9. And I was previewing some of the tracks and I came across Kareem Shabazz track, Heaven is Calling. And it kind of made me wonder why so many people born in the Caribbean, people born in the UK, black people born in the UK, sing about going back to Africa. And so this is what I came up with. So this is my little storytelling session about why we still hear artists sing about going back to Africa. When I listen closely to the music coming out of the Caribbean and black British scene today, I hear something deeper than bass, deeper than lyrics, especially in Kareem Shabazz's track, Heaven is Calling. I heard a longing, a reaching out, a voice calling across oceans and centuries, whispering the same quiet truth. That somewhere in the noise of modern life, somewhere beneath the layers of identity shaped by migration, colonization, and survival, there is a pulse, and that pulse belongs to Africa. So let me tell you a story that stretches across time, across oceans, across rhythms and generations. It begins not with one single person, not with a single moment, but with a sound, a low hum, the bass line beneath the everyday noise of life. Some people call it music, but for many black artists today, Caribbean and British, African diaspora, that hum is something else. It's a memory, a faint echo of a place many have never seen, but somehow still feel, a place they call Africa. Now, to an inside ear, this longing can sound strange, people say. Why are these artists so obsessed with going back to Africa? Why do these lyrics sound like a journey home? They hear the lyrics, take me back, reclaim, return, rise, and wonder if it's just a trend, a vibe, an aesthetic. But to understand this music, to truly hear it, you have to understand and listen with a different part of yourself. You have to listen with history. Because for so many descendants of the Caribbean and Black Britain, history never arrived as a neat family tree or a set of stories passed down lovingly through generations. History showed up in fragments, in silences, in erased names and unanswered questions. It came through whispers like, we're not sure where our ancestors came from, or the records end here. It came through school lessons that taught them how they survived oppression, but not who they were before it. And when your past arrives to you in pieces, you spend much of your life trying to imagine what the whole picture could have looked like. That is what this music is doing. It's filling in the gaps, it's repairing the breaks, it's searching for the missing pages of a story, interrupted by one of the most violent displacements in human history. Because the children of that displacement, the ones born in Kingston, in Brixton, in Birmingham, in Port of Spain, they grew up knowing that something had been taken. Not just land or language, but lineage. The map of where their ancestors came from was torn out of the book. And so the artists of today step up to the mic, and with every beat, every verse, they begin to redraw it. And here's where the story twists, because every October, when Black History Month comes around, and it's February in America, the public conversation suddenly shrinks. The storytelling narrows. It becomes the same familiar script: slavery, oppression, suffering. And yes, those chapters matter. They shaped nations, they scarred families, they shook the world. But they were not the beginning, and they are not the whole. Yet, when the mainstream tells black history, it often treats slavery chapters as if they were the only ones worth mentioning. You can almost predict it, a documentary about the plantations, a classroom timeline that begins in chains. But where are the stories of kings and queens who ruled empires larger than many European states? Where are the tales of astronomers who charted stars with breathtaking accuracy? The engineers who built structures still standing after thousands of years? The university in Timbuktu that scholars once travelled across deserts to reach? Where are the inventors, the poets, the pilots, the leaders, the mathematicians and revolutionaries? They exist. Their achievements are real, documented, magnificent, but they rarely make it onto prime time screens. They rarely appear in the national conversation. And so each generation grows up seeing Black history framed as a story of survival, not a story of creation. And when you show only suffering, you accidentally teach people that Black identity is rooted in pain, that Blackness begins with loss. And the artists who are singing today, well, they're not having it. Because Africa represents the chapters that were stolen, the dignity, the brilliance, the sovereignty, the science, the power. It represents everything the mainstream narratives forget to mention. So when an artist sings, I'm going back, they're not talking about a physical flight. They are talking about reclaiming a sense of self that history tried to take. They are talking about returning to a legacy that predates trauma. They are not just art, they are the physical proof of a civilization that the world has spent centuries underestimating. They are evidence that African societies were sophisticated, artistic, philosophical, technologically advanced. They are the pieces of a puzzle that the diaspora children were never given. And this is what fuels that longing in the music, that slow, steady beat like a heart, calling across the ocean. The artists are rebuilding the archive. They are restoring the memory. They are teaching through melody what the curriculum forgot to mention. They are saying to the world and to themselves, we are more than what was done to us. But the most beautiful part of the story is this. In seeking Africa, they are not abandoning the Caribbean or Britain. They are expanding themselves. They are building identities wide enough to hold all of their history. Africa, the Caribbean, the UK. The journeys in between. Because when you know where you come from, you can stand more firmly where you are. Home becomes layered. Identity becomes whole. So the next time you hear a song that sounds like a callback to Africa, don't hear distance, hear connection. Don't hear escapism, hear restoration. Don't hear fantasy, hear a people finally reclaiming the right to know themselves fully. Because this story, this longing, this music, this movement is about more than the past. It's about the future, a future where Black history is not reduced to trauma, a future where genius of African civilization stands alongside the pain of colonialism, not beneath it. A future where a child can learn not just how their ancestors suffered, but how they shone. And maybe, just maybe, that is why the artists keep singing, because somewhere in those harmonies they are ensuring that no generation ever grows up believing their history began at the point where someone tried to break them. They are writing a new story, one that stretches across oceans and centuries and says, we are more than our wounds. We are the children of empires, innovators, dreamers, thinkers, creators, and we are learning how to speak our names again. And so I thought you'd want to know, some of you, why we hear the chant of, take me back to Africa. You know, Africa is my home. Africa is the motherland. You know, my heart is in Africa. And try to translate it so it becomes current. It's a bit like the Bible. The Bible seems so historic, so distant from us. But when you hear the stories, you can relate it to today. When you hear about the experiences, the lived experiences, we can relate to them today. So that's what I'm hoping this story has shared with you, so you can relate to the history in the music and why it is relevant today. And this is Lady Loy on Gold Standard Radio, Roller Coaster Show, 7 till 9, Saturdays.